Hey everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, and this is the cardboard wall I made. We're going to paint it, and we're going to make this as easy as humanly possible on us. So we're going to start with my favorite color in the whole world. Oh shit, and a big mess apparently. Pavement. Yeah, we're going to do a nice coat of wet pavement in here. It's got to be kind of wet to get in those cracks because they're small. So make sure you hit your cracks though, for sure. Okay. I'm just grabbing some of that wetter stuff off real quick so it'll dry easy. Okay. I'm going to take this off camera real quick. I'm going to hit it with my air gun. It's not 100% dry, but it's ballparkish. Okay, so then what I want to do is I want to do my individual bricks in some different colors so it has some variation and looks interesting. So how I'm doing that is I'm going to get some different grays. I'm getting a medium gray, which is a pewter gray. I'm getting a bluish gray. I'm going to get a dark blue. And I think that's all I'm going to do. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a makeup brush. Something like this from the Dollar Tree. And then I'm just going to lighten up my wall a little bit in some spots so I can kind of see what I'm working with. Something like that. I'm going to keep doing that across the piece. I'm not going for the most detail in the world, but this is going to create some variation that I can work with. It's also going to grab some of that wet stuff in the cracks, hopefully. Okay. Now see how I have this taped here? That is not ideal. The tape, when it got wet, came loose. So now I'm going to have to get my hands paint on them. But this is just masking tape. Okay, so what I want to do for my different layers of paint is just using a crappy brush. This is probably a little big, but we'll use it anyways. I just want to paint my bricks. You don't have to go all the way out to the edge, really. You just kind of got to give some of your bricks a little bit of variation. And I'm just going to do three different bricks with this color on the side there. I'm going to do one on my side, so over here with a brick of a different color. I'll do one here. I'll hit the top, hit maybe one up here, maybe two, I don't know. I'm not going all the way out to the edges though. It's really not necessary. I'm going to do some of these. And if I get a little bit on the brick next to it, I'm not going to sweat it. See how I did right there? That's okay. I'm going to rinse out my brush. I'm going to use this bluish gray color and do something similar. I'm just going to grab some of these bricks and make them a little bit of a different color. And all I'm doing is just picking something that was really easy to make and trying to make it look a little bit more interesting so that it sticks out as something cool. If you want less saturation on these bricks, you can water your paint down and get a nice effect like that too. And I think I'd like to do a third color variation maybe, just to make this a little more interesting. I'm going to get a dark brown. Then I'm going to mix it with a little bit of gray. And I'm just going to make a disgusting third color that I want to add to my wall. Okay. You can also come back and use really thinned out paints over your completely finished wall too. And then maybe I'll do that a little bit too, just to add some more variation at the end to show you what I'm talking about. We'll do an end cap piece too. Okay. Again, we'll hit this with the air gun real quick and dry these up. We're going to get a lighter gray. I'm going to use elephant gray from Walmart's. I need a bigger brush. That's not going to work. Something like this would probably be easier. That's way more paint than I wanted though. Okay, something like this. We're gonna get a lot of that off of there. Maybe a sponge would be great for this too. Okay. Something like that. So now we have a pretty nice looking wall. Let me show you what I meant about using desaturated paints to change the tone of one of these. So I'm going to get that wet brush, or that brush I did to do my brickwork. And I'm going to get a color, any color will do. We'll use this, that brownish color there. And with a really wet brush, I'm just going to take some of that paint, like that. It's real thin. And I'm just going to drag it over a brick like that. And it's going to be super desaturated, hopefully. But the natural dry brushing you already did there, not natural, the intentional dry brushing you did right there, when you see it still created variation, okay? Now we want this wall to be kind of aged, so we're going to get our cardboard here. And my favorite color on earth, second favorite color on earth, really, this English ivy, and a wet brush. And we're going to add some plant life to this, some moss. And depending on how you want your wall to be, you can just kind of, you could do this with a medium brown too, and make it like dead gungy stuff, you know. There's no real like rule on how you do this. You just find what works for you. For me, this color just seems to be awesome because it adds like a, nature's been taken over because we didn't maintain this wall and scrub it and shit kind of look. And on big walls, especially walls out in the wild, you might have missing pieces of stone or anything else that kind of contribute to that look. I'm going to get the really wet stuff and kind of just get rid of any sharp edges or anything that looks really unnatural, because it doesn't grow in straight lines unless it stays in the brickwork. I'm going to come in here in some of this brickwork and darken that up and make it a little thicker. Just a personal choice. The more paint and less water, the better saturation. You know how it works. So I'm going to move this, and I'm going to do air dry this side real quick so we can do the others. Something like that. I'm just going to use up the rest of it. Okay, air gun. Ba-da-da-da-da. Might get a little bit of clear glue. Toothpick will work, or a small brush, anything you want to use. I'll be honest with you, even though it creates waste, I use toothpicks for this a lot because I like the way it looks, and I like the way I can control it kind of nicely. And I'm going to darken up some of this area with some foliage, or not foliage, some, I can't even think of what it's called, truth be told, this green shit. Flock. Okay. So I'm at the bottom here first. Something like that. And you don't want to go over the top to where you're making a mess that you can't deal with for sure. If you have a couple different colors of flock, you can kind of go above and beyond on this step, really. Dill, like the spice, works good for this kind of stuff. So that just adds a little bit of a different color. I don't know if I want to add that on the other side because I don't know if I like the way that worked out. This stuff's just not as fine. I need to like grind it up in a mortar and pestle or something. I think. I don't really know. It's not as fine as the actual store-bought flock I have. Like instead of being like a sawdust, I think this is more like a foamy kind of like floral foam. Then you can keep going with it really if you want. At that point you are not obligated to stop or to keep going. You can just do what you want. If you have any of that floral Spanish moss stuff like this, you can definitely do something with that. I would say like something like that would work. Kind of get it up along the edge. Maybe across the top. I don't know. Not sure how I would want to do it, or if I even want to do it. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get mine here, like this. I definitely want to sit on that top edge. So I'm just going to get, this is a mistake I'm telling you now, a tiny bit of glue there. This is a mistake. Don't do it. To get it situated where I want it to sit. Just like that. And again, I would not use super hot glue for this. I would use Elmer's and take my time. Something like that. So anyways, here's the wall. It sits pretty, except when you set it on, my board is warped. It sits pretty good though, I promise you, because I've made stuff like this. It sits well. If you're worried about it not sitting well, there's a couple things you could do. If you have old like Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, or Pokemon cards, something like this. Cut yourself a little shape. Get a thin line of glue. Push it up on there like that. Get brown paint. See how it's on there nice. I'm just going to get a crappy brush. Any brush. You know what I mean? Something like that. Okay. Oh, I dropped my lid. Boop. So you can see I just had that little piece there. I'm just going to drop some of that crap on it too while I'm here. I'm also going to sprinkle a little bit of flock on it. Just a little bit, like that. And now I have this little stand, and you could do one on either side. If you get that real dry, you can do some even more. You can put some you can get a little piece of like this stuff. This is just Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree as well. And all I'm going to do is just create a tiny little piece of wall with that. And to do that, I'm going to burn myself a little bit by touching this with my bare hands like a dumbass. I'm going to shove that into the groove, the crease there, get it on there real good, shove it down so some of that glue pops into the bush. And I'm going to leave that little hideous looking bush thing there. I'm just going to fluff it up a little bit, and something like that could work real good too. So when you get this all dry, I would let it dry good until all the glue is saturated into the whatever this stuff is, the flock. And then I wouldn't put flock on the sides, honestly, but something like that. You can make some interesting walls. You can cut the bricks smaller. These bricks are just a little bit around a ½ inch-ish. You know, that's like a generic standard. And if you think about an inch is 5 foot, that means the bricks are about, I don't know, a little bit over a foot tall and about 2.5 foot wide. So they're pretty big, like, you know, granite bricks or whatever, you know, stone you're using. But for a defensive city wall, that might be the answer for your prayers there. So anyways, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon, and all the happy crappy that does help the channel grow, as far as I understand. I see all these creators talking about algorithm drama. I don't really know about the algorithm. I don't have the time or effort to dig into that. You know, I just make shit quick and cheap and easy. And I put a lot of time into this because I wanted to show you what you could do, but give you some ideas. But, you know, my goal is not to spend all day in this crafting room. I have kids, I have a job, I have other things I like to do. I like to swim in the pool, and I like to play video games, and, you know, just, I have a bunch of shit. So I hope you guys can appreciate that you have a bunch of shit in your lives too, and leave that comment. Have a nice day. Don't do drugs, stay in school. I'll see you next time.